are the worst recruits who have won a national title in the last 5 years? My mind jumped straight to Anthony Cassar, who was only a one-time state champ in high school and ended up winning a national title. But the question about the worst recruit has been on my mind ever since a former national finalist messaged me on Instagram. He saw one of my posts about Brandon Courtney going from the number 76 recruit in high school to a multiple-time All-American. And in his message, he said, "Hey, just for fun, I actually went from a number 99 recruit to a national finalist." This guy who messaged me was a 4-time state champion in high school, yet was still overlooked by Flow Wrestling, Intermat, and other wrestling news sources. But after he made 2 national finals and All-American 3 times, the world knew the name Bryce Meredith. And if he was a low-star recruit with all of his high school accolades, then I started wondering who was the worst recruit who's ever won a national title. Again, off the top of my head, I was thinking Anthony Cassar, but I wanted the facts. And by the end of this video, I'll tell you if my prediction was right or wrong. So to find the facts, I dug through 12 years of senior big boards to find out which recruits those rankers were wrong about. And after looking through 1,700 cells of data and 70 national champs from 2015 to present day, I found 6 guys who weren't ranked on any big board. These were essentially 1-star recruits, and the first of them was Matt Brown of Penn State. You may remember right out of high school, he went on a mission trip, then came back to college to All-American on 3 separate occasions. But in high school, he was still a 3-time state champion, so it's hard to say he was the worst recruit out of these guys. The next guy who was also a 3-time state champ was Seth Gross. Again, it's hard to say that Gross was a bad recruit when he was a 2-time Fargo national title winner and had over 150 career wins. And initially, he was recruited to Iowa, one of the best wrestling schools in the nation. So I'd rather say he was overlooked rather than necessarily being a bad recruit out of these guys on this list. And let me set the record straight, just because I like to keep things positive on this channel. Calling these guys bad recruits just meant they didn't have the best accolades as some of the other eventual national champions did. But there is a silver lining at the end of all of this, which I'll get to. But for now, hit the like button for positivity. And next is Cornell's Nashawn Garrett, who was a 2-time California state champion in high school. And California is one of the toughest state tournaments in the entire country. And the toughness of the state definitely plays a major factor. Just like Seth Gross, Nashawn was simply overlooked. So that leaves 3 guys. All of them are national champions, but only one of them has never won a state title. Can you guess who? Mike Machiavello, Anthony Cassar, and Drew Foster. If you guessed Drew Foster, you were right. But which one of these guys is the worst recruit? Remember, my initial guess was Anthony Cassar. And while Drew Foster may have never won a state title, he was still from the gritty state of Iowa and went on to All-American on 3 separate occasions. Just about any recruit who comes out of Iowa can compete with the best of guys. So I'm dropping Drew Foster out of the running, leaving it to Mike Machiavello versus Anthony Cassar. NC State's Mike Machiavello is from North Carolina. He placed twice at the state tournament in high school, including the year that he won it. Then in college, he didn't even place at the national championships until the year that he won it, though he did qualify on 1 separate occasion. And it's a similar story for Penn State's Anthony Cassar, who didn't even make the starting lineup until he was a senior in college. During that year, he qualified for nationals for the first time and ended up winning the entire tournament.
I haven't been able to put this Penn State single on and wrestle in the Big Tens or nationals, and that's been hard. I've been close numerous times. I was able to do it today, so I was just grateful to God.
It's actually a similar story to high school, where in New Jersey, he didn't qualify for the state championships until he was a senior, and then ended up winning the title that year. So based on that, who was the worst of the 2 recruits? Well, I don't normally put Jersey up on a pedestal, but it is a more traditional wrestling state than North Carolina. Mike Machiavello went from an average high school recruit to really hardly winning in college. He started 11-14 as a freshman to 9-8 as a sophomore. It wasn't until his redshirt year that he made a leap, coming back to eventually qualify for the national championships. And finally, in his last year to get the job done and still being underestimated at the number 4 seed, he finally won a national title.
I've come a long way since my freshman year of college. It's been a long road, and I'm just really thankful.
It was a true underdog story, and I think that's why his story resonates with us so much. So yes, I was wrong in initially thinking Anthony Cassar was the worst recruit. Just like so many of these rankers rankers were wrong about these recruits. But I guess that's the silver lining, is rankings really don't matter. Yet a lot of the times these rankers were actually right. So the next logical question is, how many times were these rankers right about their best recruits, about the #1 guy in the country coming into college? Well, it turns out only Logan Stieber, Jason Sertzis, Mark Hall, and Gable Steveson were #1 coming out of high school and won a national title. So the rankers were right only 4 out of the last 12 years. Again, that goes to show you that rankings don't mean everything, and people can be wrong. Just like so many critics were wrong about the wrestler with one leg who ended up winning a national title. And if you want to hear more about Anthony Robles' incredible story, you can watch this video right here.